Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome back. Hope you have had a pleasant weekend. Football kicks off in about an hour, so let's just enjoy the last bits of sanity that I have for the moment. History by Mail is back, and it is back for September. I know last month we finished off the American Exploration series, so for September, October, November, December, for the rest of the month, it's going to be a new unit, and I cannot wait to see what in the world we have. We've got, a document. Friends and fellow citizens, the period for a new election of citizens. What in the world is this? Election. I have no idea what this is, but we're going to find out, as you can probably see it right here. Oh, here we go. President George Washington's farewell address, September 19th. Actually, that's kind of crazy because I am filming this on September the 21st, 1796. Okay, so this is the transcript of what it says, what he actually said. Dear friends and fellow citizens, the period for a new election of a citizen to administer the executive government of the United States being not far distant, and the time actually arrived when your thoughts must be employed in designating the person who is to be clothed with that important trust. Man, talk about verbiage. It appears to me proper, especially as it may conduce to a more distinct expression of the public voice, that I should now apprise you of the resolution I have formed to decline being considered among the number of those out of whom a choice is to be made. And he was the one, as we know, up until World War II and Franklin Delano Roosevelt, that set the precedent of 2 terms. After World War II, it became written into the Constitution. I beg you at the same time, would that have been one word back then? That's interesting. To do me the justice to be assured that this resolution has not been taken without strict regard to all the considerations appertaining to the relation which binds a dutiful citizen to his country, and that in withdrawing the tender of service which silence in my situation might imply, and I often wonder why they capitalize certain words. I am influenced by no diminution? I don't think I've ever actually seen that word before. Diminution? Somebody correct me. Of zeal for future interest, no deficiency of grateful respect for your past kindness, but am supported by a full conviction, and that's where this page ended, so they only sent one, and here's why. That the step is compatible with both. The acceptance of and continuance hitherto in the office for which your suffrages have twice called me have been a uniform sacrifice of inclination to the opinion of duty and to deference for that which appeared to be your desire. I constantly hope that it would have been much earlier in my power, consistently with motives which I was not at liberty to disregard, to return to that retirement from which I had been reluctantly drawn. Okay. The strength of my inclination to do this previous to last election had even led to the preparation of an address to declare it to you, but mature reflection on the then perplexed and critical posture of our affairs with foreign nations and the unanimous advice of persons entitled to my confidence impelled me to abandon the idea. I rejoice that the state of your concerns, external as well as internal, no longer renders the pursuit of inclination incompatible with the sentiment of duty or proprietary, and am persuaded, whatever partiality may be retained for my services, that in the present circumstances of our country you will not disapprove my determination to retire. Document continues for 30 more handwritten pages, totaling 32 handwritten pages. You got to think about it, man. That is like politician to a T. He said 32 pages of stuff, and I don't know if he even actually said anything. But let us get into the summary and the history behind it. As we see here, Washington's farewell address, September 19th, 1796. Encloses the replica to announce to the American people that he was voluntarily stepping down after 2 terms as president. Washington's address spanned 32 handwritten pages and was published in the American Daily Advertiser, after which it was reprinted in papers throughout the country. Washington had help drafting the address from a team of founding fathers, including James Madison and Alexander Hamilton. Madison had originally prepared a farewell address for Washington after his first term as president, but put the draft aside when Washington agreed to run for a second term. Madison's draft was revised for use after Washington's second term, with considerable edits from Alexander Hamilton, and historians therefore refer to the final copy as Hamilton's major draft. Interesting. The original final manuscript, drafts by Madison and Hamilton, and several later letters relating to the preparation of the drafts are currently housed at the New York Public Library. That'd be kind of cool to see. Washington's farewell address has been relevant since the day it was written. The U.S. Senate has read the address aloud annually on Washington's birthday since 1896. Each year, Republicans and Democrats switch off selecting a senator to read the 7,641-word statement, a practice which usually takes about 45 minutes, At the end of each reading, the senator signs his or her name and some brief remarks in a black leather-bound book maintained by the Secretary of State. I never knew any of this stuff. The address sections. Washington makes three major points in his farewell address, announcing he will not seek another term as president, which we kind of discussed in the page we had. Warning against divisiveness, either from regional factions or political parties. He did warn us. Beware the two-party system, and well, here we are. Warning against excessive involvement in the affairs of foreign nations. He warned us, and here we are. The replica included is the first handwritten page of Washington's farewell address, which focuses on the first of these 3 points. After announcing that he will not run again for president, George Washington advises the country to avoid division into political factions and to stay neutral in foreign affairs. Swings and misses. Excuse me. Not seeking further terms. President Washington's announcement that he was not seeking another term as president was revolutionary. The leader of the new country of the United States of America would have a peaceful transfer of power from its first head to state. The U.S. Constitution did not set term limits for presidents, and Washington was aware that his conduct would set the precedent for future presidents to emulate. He feared that if he were to die during his term in office, Americans may assume the presidency should be a lifetime appointment. Instead, he decided to peacefully step down after 2 terms, a precedent that would be maintained until President Roosevelt ran and won the presidency 4 times, as I talked about before. Within 2 years of President Roosevelt's 4th presidential victory, Congress had passed the 22nd Amendment to the states for ratification. The 26th Amendment enshrined Washington's 2-term precedent by amending the U.S. Constitution as follows. No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. So that would be like, impeachment or assassination. In his farewell address, Washington told the American public that he had initially intended to retire after only 1 term, but due to the critical posture of I'm off the page. With foreign nations, he was compelled to run for a second term. Washington was referring to tensions with Great Britain over its war with France. Now, he believed his leadership was no longer needed, and he did not think the Americans needed another King George. Side note, that's actually the title of one of his biographies. I think it was by Joseph J. Ellis. It's called His Excellency George Washington, which is the original term they wanted to bestow upon him, and he refused it. Warning against dangers of factions. Washington warned Americans not to let regional differences supersede national interest. Too late. At the time, many early Americans identified more with their particular state or region, as the American national identity was just forming. Washington stressed the strong bonds that unify all Americans. He reminded them that their liberty and independence was a result of the common dangers, sufferings, and successes they had experienced in the American Revolution and its aftermath while building a nation together. The American people must remain united to safeguard their hard-won system of government. The name of American something was in there, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than the appellation derived from local discriminations. Washington feared that regional factions would grow into divisive political parties. While it is hard to believe now, many Americans condemned political parties as divisive tools used by those seeking power, which they kind of are. Parties were seen to encourage people to vote based on party loyalty rather than the common good. Washington feared partisanship would lead to a spirit of revenge where parties governed for power rather than the common good. He thought parties would become potent engines to subvert the power of the people and to usurp for themselves the reins of government. I'll let you fill in the blank there. Indeed, the first political parties in American history had developed during Washington's presidency. They had done so along regional lines. The Federalist Party from New England and led by Alexander Hamilton favored a strong central government, close ties to Britain, a centralized banking system, and close links between government and wealthy men. The Democratic-Republican Party, on the other hand, was in the South and led by James Madison and Thomas Jefferson, who were opposed to these centralizing policies. Warning against excessive foreign entanglements. Washington's third and final point of his farewell address was to warn the American people against getting dragged into foreign conflicts. Following his previous point about factions, a divided America is more susceptible to foreign attack or tyranny, which America had just fought a war to end. These comments were in direct response to the ongoing war between Britain and France that threatened to involve America. Washington advised America, quote, to steer clear of permanent alliances with any portion of the foreign world, end quote, and advocated instead for a neutral policy of friendly commercial relationships with every foreign nation. Boy, would that have been nice. The conclusion. Washington concludes his address by speaking about his legacy of 45 years of public service. He hopes history will ignore his mistakes. Well, nope, no, we will not. And he looks forward to his retirement. Washington's farewell address remains a relevant founding document since its themes of unity, partisanship, and foreign relations remain relevant today. Very much so. This is the first of document in the Transfer of Power series. There's a website. Jeez. If you would like to do it. This is going to be an interesting series, I think. And that's kind of interesting. I did not know that they read Washington's farewell address often like that. That's quite interesting. But another fascinating history by mail, and very much looking forward to the rest of the series because I'm curious as to what else it would be with the transfer of power. But that is going to do it for now. I am going to go settle in and, quote-unquote, enjoy some football. Hope all of you do the same. We will see you tomorrow.